And welcome to Morning Brew with Jaffe and Razor. Back from a little bit of a hiatus. We took about a week off, maybe a few more days than that. We'll get into what we did or didn't do in that time coming up. Morning Brew with Jaffe and Razor is always in pod, proudly presented by Fazenda Coffee Roasters. Go to fazendacoffee.com/morningbrew to check out all things Fazenda and Morning Brew. You got the Morning Brew blend, the baseball hats, and still a couple of Clean Canteen travel mugs left. Fazenda Coffee is the premier Boston boutique coffee roaster. They want to just get you the best coffee around. Check it out. They've got from all blends, from the lightest to darkest, freshly roasted beans, and unmatched support. Go check out fazendacoffee.com. Razor. Did it even feel like a break? You're working the games in Boston for Four Nations. I'm working the games in Boston. Did it feel like any break for you at all? Because I know you were all over the place too.
Yeah, bouncing around a lot. Had to go back to Canada for a little while. But no, it has felt like a break in a certain respect. Just kind of having the brain switched up a little bit from the normal NHL schedule. So certainly the weather hasn't helped the break feeling.
No.
And knowing that there's a lot of people south right now with kids on vacation here in the New England area, anyways, is not helping my break feeling. But again, it's always nice to get through February. That's the key. So we're getting closer to that.
As my wife Victoria says, the shortest month is always the longest month.
That's very smart of her. Yes. Very
it's
philosophical.
True. Especially this year.
Yeah, exactly. It's wild. Wild.
Pond hockey in Canada, or was that just a part of the trip? Meaning, was that
I had the charity event, so that was a part of it. I went home. I saw my parents for a day, so that was kind of nice. And bounced around. So yeah, that was a big part of it. And then trying to get back from the snow was the worst part of it.
In the Prius?
No, I got a ride, so thank God. I actually might not have been able to do it in the Prius, or it would have been a lot more. Like, I love the Prius, and I feel like it's as sturdy as a tank, but the reality is, in one of those, it's not.
No. They got some good snow up there the last couple of weeks.
Like a crazy amount of snow. We got hit with snow and slush and ice. They got hit with snow for like 2 straight days, like more than they'd had in 10 years, like a lot of snow.
When you're back in Canada, do you prefer to say we've got 44 centimeters, or do you say 10 inches? Which one?
No,
or do you go back to Canada?
I hear it on the radio, and I hear it in the radio in centimeters, and I do the conversion in my head, and then I speak back in centimeters because I don't want to, especially in these days, and especially after that weekend that Canada had, on top of with USA smoking them on Saturday night, I spoke as much Canadian as I could up there.
back with the homies. Gonna be
correct. Exactly.
You're gonna play the part, so to speak. I had a quick trip down to Austin, Texas. Sadly, the weather was not what I was hoping it to be there.
Yeah, they get winter there too.
They do. They do. Now, usually not as much in the Austin, and a buddy of mine, very longtime dear friend of mine, lives west of there in a little town called Fredericksburg, which basically has become like a Sonoma kind of county of Texas, vineyards and this and that. So he relocated there. Long story short, it was in the 80s the week before. Of course it was.
Yeah, of course.
Right. And then it was in the 40s when I was down there with rain and wind and cold. So welcome to Crapville weather. But I spent 3 days in that area. It was nice. Wasn't as much resting as I was hoping it would be, but is what it is. It was great to see my friend. All right, we're going to get to the Four Nations. Razor's working the games. I'm working the games. We're both excited as we sit and record this Morning Brew with Jaffe and Razor on Wednesday morning. Thursday night is the big one between U.S. and Canada. But we have to get right to the news that impacts us and our listeners the most, is that Charlie McAvoy out. I'll use indefinitely. They're calling it week to week. It's significant, whatever it is, as he sustained a shoulder injury, a right shoulder injury, in the game against Finland, only to play like an absolute freaking monster against Canada a couple of days later, Saturday night at Bell Center, and then comes back to Boston because the game shifted here and has significant pain and an issue with it to the point that they have to get him in to the hospital after x-rays, I'm assuming, and MRI, etc., because an infection has developed in that shoulder. So now, with a significant injury as well, Razor, to his AC joint per the Bruins release just moments before we came on the air, we now don't know when Charlie McAvoy's coming back for the Boston Bruins. Good news is they say he's progressing. He's getting better. The bad news is this is not a couple of day thing that a little penicillin clears up. With all that said, I'll ask you your take on it, but I guess the comment is, if McAvoy isn't coming back for weeks, and we don't know about Hampus Lindholm, we can dovetail into that in a moment. I mean, that just puts a dark cloud over this team already coming out of break, doesn't it? I mean, I know you're positive, and I get it, bud, but that's a major loss.
Oh, it's a huge loss. Yeah, no question. It's a huge loss, and it's going. Yeah, that's kind of the worst case scenario going into this tournament, and then on top of it, just the fact that it's so freak, that it's infection based, which is again.
Which means something, and the last thing I am is a doctor, but I know that infection means that something gets into your body, right?
Yeah, something didn't go correctly as planned.
Exactly.
So no, that's wild, and again with that leads to the indefinite part, because you don't know. This isn't like the Theodore's broken hand, wrist, arm is 4 to 6 or 3 to 4 or 2 to 4, depending on how it shakes out. So Vegas and Boston up until this point are the big losers of Four Nation in that they've lost one of their top defensemen. And yeah, it makes coming out of the break more difficult for this group, and makes their 7 games even more interesting, I suppose, in how they respond to more adversity at this point in the year.
And the fact that Hampus Lindholm, as of this recording, we don't know on him. We're up in the air as well, because he skated on Tuesday afternoon, but not with the main group. So the 10 days away is, maybe he wasn't allowed. I don't know the rules. If he was allowed to see the doctors or not during the break, I would imagine he'd be able to see medical people, given, right? I mean, would that be a violation of anything?
Yeah, usually you can rehab through these breaks per CBA rules.
Right.
Usually that's like the asterisk beside it, the workouts. No, and again, and the reality is this has been extremely freak too. We don't know really what the procedures and everything that's gone into it, but he literally blocked a shot.
Broke his
3 months ago. 3 months ago. 3 months ago, he blocked a shot, a wrister for just above his knee or around his knee or in his knee, and he's been out 3 months. That's as freak as it gets in the NHL too. So just below an infection from a shoulder injury, like it hasn't gone the Bruins' way when it comes to these injuries in any way whatsoever.
And I don't know if you're a fate person, a sign person, though, but I'll ask it anyways. Is this a sign for this team? I mean, just how things have gone this year, all the things that you just talked about. In some ways, Razor, I kind of think it is to this team has.
Yeah, it will be. It will be if we look back on it. The other side of it is you know, there's been lots of teams that have had these signs that have turned it into good, and again, that's what guys are talking about, inside of a locker room. But no question, it's been trying, and this has just added to it. It certainly has added to it. It's been hard.
Infections are more common in these environments than people, I think, realize. Now, we don't have them daily, thankfully, but the amount of, we've heard of the skin infections. We've heard of guys blocking shots and then their foot getting totally inflamed because it gets cut and you don't realize it, and then something gets in. Have you ever suffered an infection while playing?
No, I haven't.
I hadn't either.
They were certainly, and obviously the equipment's better and cleaner, but yeah, back in the day, it was you were well aware, like you were made well aware that you don't mess around open wounds, any of that, you get it cleaned up right away. And I remember Jumbo had a big one, elbows and knees and shins that were always the worst part. But Jumbo, I was in the hospital for a week in his elbow because, he just kind of fell on it. Wasn't a big deal. Had a little cut. Elbow pad wasn't completely clean. And next thing you know, your arm is swollen and red and you need IV for, you can't do anything. Like, you can't do anything about it. Whatever Charlie's got, like when you have an infection like that, you just lie in bed and are hooked up to a machine for days.
Right. And there could be swelling. There could be pus, right, that develops. It's draining is necessary. I mean, I'm sure people listening, viewing us, whatever, have experienced, some people have experienced these kind of brutal infections. Thankfully, I haven't. At least I've put it out of my mind if I've had a small one. But no, they can be debilitating, absolutely debilitating. And of course, you worry about stuff getting into the bloodstream, et cetera. That's the other stuff. So you've got to treat it immediately. People out there know a lot more about it than I do. Could probably say, yes, then you have to do this and that. So let's hope that A, he's okay more than anything. B, that he can have a quick recovery. But I don't know, man. When I hear, we've talked about this numerous times. Week to week means at least 3 weeks to me all the time, Razor.
Yeah, of course.
It just does. Yeah. Day to day gets you to a week. Week to week means 3 weeks minimum.
Well, and especially with this, because of the fact that, by the time the season gets going, that'll be a week. Since it all kind of went down. So that means, another week or another week after that.
So, all right, if you're a team like the Bruins and you get that news, I get it that, you're always thinking you can win. You're always thinking you can do it. I get that.
Yeah.
However, let me ask this. How do you as a person, or you as an individual, but then as a team, a collective team, you're coming out of break potentially, again, without your top two defensemen. How do you not just say to yourself internally, like, I know you're going to give it your all. I get it, Razor. But how do you not feel like, holy smokes, we're up against one here?
I don't know. Like, I think, I don't know. It's, you just don't, like, I don't,
I know it's the next man up. I appreciate that. And somebody's getting a great opportunity and you love that. But, you you just know at times that it's, I don't know. I get it. Again, you
just like you're talking to a group of 20 guys that have basically beat the odds of making it to the NHL. It's 1 in 100 million or whatever the number is. So like, it's just not something, they're not thinking, oh, we don't have our top 2D, so we have no chance of making the playoffs, so we should just trade everybody. Like whatever, sports media is saying. It just, that doesn't like infiltrate. Of course, you will look back at seasons and you will look back at different times in your career and say, oh man, did we get fed a shit burger on that one? Like that really sucked and we really didn't have a chance. And but again, in the moment, like no one's talking about the injury today. Like a couple guys like, holy shit, did you talk to Charlie? Did you talk to Mac? Is he okay? But you're not going on the ice saying, okay, because we don't have these two guys, we're completely changing our game plan, or, and that especially at this point, like the organization might have to have that chat after 7 games. But it's not happening within the room at all.
Yeah, they got a tough. They may not have a tough decision. We'll see. We'll see where they go. We've talked ad nauseum about the 2-path conversation that we heard from Cam Neely, and the path might be, we'll see, right in front of them. They open up with Anaheim. I think one of the issues is that this Bruins team in their next 6-7 games, Razor, only plays one team, the New York Islanders. That is what you would call, not what you would call, that is a 4-point game. The rest of them aren't. And while I understand you play the game in front of you, I get it. You'd also love to have maybe some of these big games that gives you
maybe not now, right? Maybe, without McAvoy, maybe you want to have those later in this, a couple weeks later. So, you Nashville coming into town is better than without McAvoy is better than
maybe,
you know, the Ottawa Senators or whatever, you know, possibly. But again, that's not, you know, play it as it lies, basically. And Anaheim's up first, and you know, you're gonna have the Leafs. It's still tough, but you are at home. There's things going your way, and guys are gonna have to step up to it. It's just gonna be. It just adds to the story of the year, though. There's no question that this injury does that.
Upcoming schedule: Saturday, the 22nd, Anaheim. Then a couple of days later, Tuesday, Toronto. Then Thursday, the Islanders. All three of those games are at home. Moving into March, you then have an afternoon game, the first day of March, in Pittsburgh. Then you have back-to-back. You go to Minnesota. And then you have two more games then before the break. Nashville at home, and then Carolina on the road on the 6th. And then you have March 7th is the NHL trade deadline. Carolina, obviously a tough game. I mean, they're all tough, but some more than others in theory. Minnesota, we saw them if they get healthier, although I think Kaprizov is out longer than people think. I think Kirill Kaprizov is out weeks, no longer. I think he's out a long time.
Yeah, they're hoping for playoffs.
Playoffs, yeah. So then you got, as you said earlier, you got Toronto, the Islanders. It's schedule again. You play what's in front of you. All right, let's talk about Four Nations a bit. What have you thought of Brad Marchand's performance so far with the Canadian team? It's been in a different role, which doesn't surprise me. Does it surprise you? I mean, given their roster, their lineup, etc. He hasn't played as many minutes as he's used to. Doesn't surprise me. Just again, given the makeup of their amazing depth up front. But you know, when he's out there, I'm still rooting for him, and I there's moments that I see some good stuff out of it. The pace is tough though. The pace is heavy duty.
Oh, it's so fast. It's so fast, and it's a lot for everybody out there. I think it's different, and yeah, in his role, he's, I mean, by all accounts, and he's as much of a leader as anybody else in that room. From all the talk up there, and how positive he is, and how he's, we've seen a few of the clips, and he's the veteran guy in the room, him and Sid, and they've done this and they've won these, and he knew going in he was a third or fourth line guy. He knew he was a guy who was going to fill minutes and get on the forecheck. It was great that he scored in game one right off of the bat. That
had to make him feel great.
Yeah, he's going to be, there's going to be 10 guys that don't score in this tournament. So that's pretty positive from his point of view. And I think that his goal is to be that guy for this team next year in Italy, and be the veteran killing penalties, forecheck, bottom six guy who helps this.
Who'll do anything it takes. Who'll do anything that it takes for this team just to be a part of it.
That's right. And so in all of those accounts, like, there's been other guys in and out of the lineup, and it's not him. So I probably big picture, that's really what the goal was for him, on top of winning this game Thursday night. And that's where, he scored the game winner in 2016, shorthanded, minute left. And again, I kind of forgot all of that. I don't know if all of our fans remember that.
World Cup of Hockey 2016 preseason, meaning in fall in Toronto, that tournament. Yes, Brad Marchand scores the game-winning goal after Patrice Bergeron scored the tying goal in the third period.
Correct. And it was, and again, shorthanded to boot. So, he's not that guy. That was 8 years ago now, 9 years ago. So he isn't that guy, but he certainly filled a pretty good role for this team. And the fact he's out there best on best is a testament to itself.
Who have you had the most fun watching in this event? And I mean, it's a wide question. I guess I'll focus on U.S. and Canada since.
So it's the one guy I was gonna say that I really enjoyed watching that, and it doesn't fit any of our narrative right now, was Victor Hedman. Like, that guy is ridiculous.
Beast.
Watching him against Team USA, who they beat Team USA, and he was a big part of them beating Team USA over 25 minutes, and smart plays and closing out, and He's a beast. So he was the one guy from Monday that I really took away, Victor Hedman. But then you go to the Stars and you go to just how good Connor McDavid is. He's better than everybody else, even out here. He's so fast. He's so much faster. It's been
and
impressive.
The funny thing is, we saw the dynamite goal against US, right?
Yeah,
where he goes to the
ridiculous,
backhand after beating McAvoy. Then we also saw McAvoy with a dynamite hit on him too. I mean, that was amazing theater. Besides the fights, which were electric. I mean, just the theater of that game was spectacular. The funny thing is, and this is what kind of gives me caution about Thursday night. I think Connor still got more. I do. I think he's been unbelievable in moments, but yes, the competition is the best and the best and the best. But I don't know if we've seen him for a 60-minute tilt yet be what he can be. Would you agree?
We haven't. Yeah, you feel like he has a 4-point game in him, even in this tournament, right? Like it just always looks like that he has the ability to get 4 points and do what he did on Saturday night once a period and end up with 3 goals. So no, it's a fascinating rematch. It's too bad it's not best out of 3. Just like I'd love to have seen these 2 teams play 3 times.
How many guys do you want to get hurt?
Well, that's it. No, literally, there'd be no one left. There literally would be no one left by the game, the third game on Saturday night. So it's gonna be awesome. And then, but just back to no one really surprised me on Team USA. But what has stood out is there, because again, we watched the Monday night in person, and they were decimated. Like they had 8 forwards at times and mailed it in a little bit. So I didn't get like the full feel of it, but watching on Saturday, just how physical they were determined to be, is the mindset that the team had is very, I think, important for hockey, because it's very similar to what Florida did last year and Vegas did the year before. Like the winning teams, you still need physicality, you still need size. As skilled as all these guys are, that's at what ends up winning at the end is to wear teams down.
I think that, the forwards for the U.S. did an absolutely magnificent job in that game with their tracking, both in the O zone, neutral zone, allowing their D to gap, then in the D zone, and allowed them to be more physical too. We've talked numerous times about how important it is for the forwards to play a role in allowing the D to be physical and to close gaps, and that has to happen. They were great. A couple of players that have jumped out to me. Once Braden Point got moved to a different role, he's so smart. He is so good, so good. I'm going to tell you, I was always at times mixed on Slavin for the U.S. Jacob Slavin. I thought he's been really good. Once they put him with Faber, it seems like that's worked for both really, really well. I mean, I could go through the whole list of everybody there, but there've been a few players at times where I'm like, that's pretty damn good. Who else? I mean, obviously to me, I've liked Eichel's game on the U.S. I feel like he has got that completeness to his game that we've talked about. We talked about a couple of years ago. He got traded to Vegas and how Bruce Cassidy was working with him on that. I feel like we're seeing that come through. He's been really good. I'm not even looking at points anymore in this. It doesn't matter to me. It's moments in this tournament. Points to me are great, but it doesn't. I mean, Sid's 3 assists in the first game, we're like, oh my God, that's freaking Sid right there.
Yeah,
right?
That's right.
He's still the OG.
But that's, to your point, that's the moment. It wasn't necessarily, it's not about the 3 points. It's the moment of the game and him, and that's what it is, right? It's I couldn't agree more, and that'll be the same thing on Thursday. You'd be again, we just talked about McDavid, but it'd be if he does get 5 points or 4 points or even 3 points against Team USA, that's a moment again. It's not about those 3 points. It's about the ability to do that in that kind of a situation.
Where did you watch the game in Canada on Saturday night?
We had there was like a watch party thing at this charity event I was doing for the weekend. So I was in a room with a bunch of Canadian people. So it was one of those,
not just people, Canadian people.
Yeah, like jerseys. Everyone had a jersey on,
Really?
like one of the. Oh yeah, well, you wear a jersey or you wear a sweatshirt, you wear Team Canada colors all the time. So of course the first period was absolutely electric, and then everyone was drinking, so it got a little quieter and a little quieter and a little quieter by the end. But we had I was pretty intently watching, and we had the big screen, and I got it. But yeah, I was in the depths of Canadiana.
Yeah. Were you in Toronto or outside of Toronto?
Brockville, Ontario, which is 2 hours, 3 hours from Toronto, just an hour from my town. So it's a good little cool town.
You were in the middle, like you were.
Oh no, I was small town Canada. Like this is like small town Canada where tariffs are a talk.
Oh, I'm sure, and a lot of other stuff.
Yeah.
If you had to guess, I mean, the numbers were huge. They said 15% of the Canadian population was watching the game, which quite honestly, I thought it would have been more than that. But if you had to guess in Brockville, I don't know what the population is there.
Yeah.
How many of the population do you think was tuned into that game?
So let's say Brockville's 20,000 people. That might be a little generous. It might be more like 15. And let's say they're 15,000. I would say 10,000 are. Absolutely. And the other 5 are,
little kids asleep.
Yeah. Kids are asleep.
Old people just hanging
teenagers that are out doing God knows what and not interested in hockey. And then, the small group that have never watched a hockey game ever anyways.
Was Reg with you by chance? Did he?
No, I didn't see. No, Reg. I didn't see Reg.
Oh, crap.
I didn't really see any of my buddies. I saw 2 buddies in Belleville for lunch quickly, but I was moving.
All right, so you were busy with that.
Snowstorm landed everybody too, right? Because the snow started coming Saturday night, so there was a couple guys going to come meet me, and then they're like, "Yeah, forget it."
No, stay. Yeah, I was in that night. I was happily on the couch.
Not in Austin. You were back from Austin?
Yes. I got back I had brutal travel to and from Austin. Down there was worse than coming back. But anyways, got back late Friday night. And then Saturday night, just started to get, it was cold and miserable, whatever. And so couch was perfect. It was pretty cool stuff. All right. We got a few other things to talk about here on Morning Brew with Jaffe and Razor about Four Nations. I want to get into the fights, the game, what we're looking for, etc. And then we'll wrap this one up. But first, it's time to get to our sponsors. Graciano Construction serves Boston and the greater Metro West area, and even probably a little further than that, too. If you call up Doug Graciano at 508-330-7589, talk to him. Tell him where you're at. He'll see what he can do for you, because this is what they do at Graciano Construction. They listen to you, the customer. They want to help everybody out. They do everything with pride and amazing professionalism. They somehow make doing home projects less stressful and almost even enjoyable at times. They respect the customer, and they make sure that you get what you want, and in the end that you are thrilled. Go to GracianoConstruction.com, or again, call them at 508-330-7589. Believe it or not, spring is almost here. Almost. We're trying to get there. I don't know.
I'm going to keep telling myself that.
I know. That's what I'm telling myself too.
Yeah.
I'm lying to myself. But RTN Realty, it's that time. You want to start the buy or lease a new place, reach out to Chris Gentile. And if you're in Mass, Rhode Island, or New Hampshire, they've got you covered. RTN Realty has all your real estate needs taken care of. Chris and his staff of 16 agents and support staff, they've got you covered for whatever you're looking to do. Reach out to Chris at cgentile@rtnrealty.com, or call him directly at 617-835-0845 for a no-pressure consultation. The real estate market is ever changing, and that isn't quite the understatement. You need somebody you can trust and listens to what you want, not what they want you to do. So go to rtnrealty.com and tell them you heard about it on Morning Brew with Jaffe and Razor. All right, and finally, Razor, it's Sparks Hockey time. Sparks Hockey, a lifesaver for you, for me, for everybody else who's got a Sparks Hockey. Just throw those skates in there. And now, did you sharpen your skates on your way up there, or did you wait until after the pond hockey experience to sharpen them?
I didn't get to it just because of logistics, but yes, they've been back. They got a pass. Again, I saved my wheel, so I only go once because now I'm in coaching mode. So yes, they got a pass when I got back because of the fact I walked around basically on cement for a couple of games. But yes, it's again playoff time now, and the final stretch for everybody, and it's just as good in the summer when kids are in summer camp, and you definitely don't want to go to a hockey store in July. So I have my Sparks machine; they get it done. It's an absolute no-brainer. They did have the Sparks machine going at pond hockey, so guys could get them done and they could do them, but again, I didn't partake in that.
It's a fine line when you're at pond hocky, how sharp you want your
you
skates.
Want them pretty dull, Mace.
You want them dull, or either that or go to like an inch hollow, right? So you can just stay on top, feel the edge. If you're too sharp and you fall, you break your ankle, you crack your head, you do something like that. Sparkshockey.com. Use the code BRU50, $50 off. They also have other great deals on there. Folks, it's the easiest piece of equipment to use. You set it up, you learn how to do it. It takes you a couple of minutes. It's a lifesaver. Trust us. Go to sparkshockey.com. All right. Who's the pressure on heading into Thursday's game? I will start with the question. I think it's on the U.S. I do. I think after winning game one of we won't call it a series, but between the two teams, their purpose was fantastic. Their passion was at another level, their intensity, etc. Now, I'm not saying they can't handle it. I'm just saying I think the pressure has shifted completely onto them. Being at TD Garden, knowing that you beat them already once, you got to do it again. And I just think as great as the U.S. team is, when you see McDavid, McKinnon, and Crosby lining up on the other side, those three guys, I think there's that whoa moment of, all right, we did it. We can do it again. But holy smokes, there might be just that little more pressure. And I think that's going to be a potential factor in this game. What about you?
So we just ended up making great podcast content because we didn't talk about it as always. I'm going on the other side. I think it's Canada. And I agree 100% that McDavid, McKinnon, Makar now, because they did not have Makar on Saturday night. I think those are big pluses for Canada. Those are game changers. Those are the guys that are going to win this game for Team Canada. But if Canada goes 0-2 against Team USA after losing so badly in World Juniors, and I'm taking the big, broad, Canadian picture, Hockey Canada picture, if they lose twice to Team USA, and they have to do this on road in Boston, it's catastrophic. And I think all of these guys on Canada know how important this is for a lot of different reasons. And most of those have to do with off the ice and where Canada is right now as a country, and especially where Hockey Canada is right now in a little bit of a crisis mode.
It's in flux right now.
These guys go 0-2. There's a lot of pressure on that, because the whole thing's riding on them. So I think Canada is, I don't want to say in the driver's seat, because if I have to pick, I will take Canada, because I just don't see them losing twice.
Right.
Because of all those guys we've talked about. I find them finding a way in one of these close games. But if it goes the other way on them, that is much more troublesome for them as a group than it is for Team USA.
Wasn't the U.S. though favored going in? I mean, I don't know it might have been by a millimeter, but
by us it was, right? I think
by a lot of people. I mean, I did, I thought Canada, I don't know. I have a Razor.
You can't pick against them, right?
Exactly.
You just can never pick against them. Sid now has only lost once in this 29 games, 29 games in Team Canada. You go back to 10, you go back to 14, they've just always won. So that's why, they might be favored, but you're not. And we had a lot of reasons to favor Team USA. Their back end, their goaltending, their power play, and now their physicality is even more than Canada. But you're just not. I think as us hockey guys and everyone, you're just never really betting against Canada because of what they have over there and all the cups they have.
What have you thought about Jordan Binnington in the event so far?
So his puck handling is ridiculous.
It's really good.
It's ridiculous, and he's made it so much easier for Team Canada and their back end, especially the game without Makar. He's getting beat up a little bit on the goals that he's given up, especially in Team USA. The Gensel one was the big one.
That let the US back in the game,
and the momentum really changed, and that stopped Team Canada from running away, because that was going crazy at that point. But all Bruins fans, everyone listening to this knows what happened in 2019, right. and you know, he again, to that same point, like, I'm not betting against him in a big game. I'm just not. Like, I saw it. We all saw it. And it's very similar in that he's probably going to have a huge first period against Team USA. I would expect Team USA to come out, but we know that it's possible for him to make a couple big saves in this building, in that net, and then have things go the other way.
How much of a factor? I'm probably asking you an unfair question because we don't know, but I'll still throw it out there for us to chew on quickly. Is we know the U.S. team is banged up. There might be somebody on Canada that's banged up that we don't know about.
Yeah,
but they're not as significantly as banged up. We know McAvoy's out, but Austin Matthews, I don't know, man. It doesn't feel like, he's going to be back, right? But something's going on. Is it the back issues? Is it okay? Matty Tkachuk, he's going to play. You know it, I know it. He's going to be there. But how's that lower body injury going to be overall? I think Brady's okay. I think that was just a complete, totally
freak thing.
Abundance of caution, keeping him out though, right? We don't need you back in here. Who else am I forgetting that's been dinged up? Am I forgetting anybody else? If I am, forgive me. Those are significant pieces though. I mean, we know that the Tkachuk brothers become the identity of this team. They really did. In a matter of 3 seconds, they did.
Yeah, and you just can't imagine it going that way again, and it's hard to start. It's hard to be physical when you don't feel good.
Right. That was what I was getting at.
It's really like, again, and it was McAvoy, it was Tkachuk brothers, and JT Miller that really were the ones that were most physical. The entire team was, but those were the catalysts. And you're down McAvoy, and again, it would be hard for Tkachuk to be physical if he's just trying to get to a spot. Can Brady do it all on his own, or does he start running around like he does in Ottawa some nights? Right. That gets everybody in trouble. So there's a lot of question marks around that. I agree, and it will be interesting how it plays out and what kind of game we get on Thursday.
I can't see fights off the hop again.
Yeah, no, that's so organic, and so like it just won't. If this time, like, because of what's on the line, if you drop your gloves, the other guy really might not.
That's where I was going to go. There's going to be somebody that look to draw a penalty, and you can't start taking penalties early in this game.
That's right. Like we could go back to game 1 where Domi's going after Marchand against the Leafs in game 1 last season in the playoffs, and Marshy's laughing at him. He takes a penalty and they go and score like that. You just can't afford to do that. It was perfect the other night to set a tone, but I think the tone's been set, and now you carry over from there.
Right. I think we could see something early in the game if it happens, if it's a big hit, somebody runs, etc. I can't see we're going again here, calling somebody up. I mean, of course, anything can happen, but I just don't see that happening either. I see intense, physical, emotional.
It'll be safer. I think it'll be a little bit safer
early on. Yeah, everybody looking around what is going to happen. Can't play on your heels though.
No,
gotta play on your toes. What have you thought as we get close to wrapping this one up? What have you thought of it's almost youth hockey like. You can bring a player in, but you have to keep him in the hallway. He can't be on the ice.
This Quinn Hughes thing, right? So
that's where I'm getting to. Yeah, it doesn't sound like he's coming in. I mean, this morning I reached out to 2 people and nobody had it confirmed, but they didn't think he was coming because the U.S. still has 6 players. Where are we at with this, with these rules? Should it be a free for all and you can just take anybody and you have anybody, or is it a roster thing where you're stuck with it unless somebody, and does somebody, by the way, there's a ton of legit virus going around right now. Somebody could get sick between now and then. The problem is, can Quinn Hughes get here from Vancouver in that time if he's not on his way already?
Yeah, and the good news is now that everybody in the league has gotten everyone's gotten back and they're practicing. We have games in the NHL in 3 days. So everybody's back in hockey mode throughout the entire league. The issue, so I guess going forward is then the question is, will it, I think they might tweak things a little bit.
They have to.
But, and it's a big but, is that this stuff's all bargained to protect the PA as well. They don't want Team Canada and Team USA to have a roster of 50 guys and say, you guys can't go on vacation.
I get it. Yeah, no, I get it.
Right? Like, guys don't want to be put in that, like, that's why this was so tightly wound. It wasn't so much for the teams and to protect that. It's to protect the guys who aren't on the teams and them getting a call.
Well, what if you just expanded it, let's say, to 25, and you say to there's a couple of guys, you might not play a lot, and your girlfriend, your wife might not be happy that you're no holiday break for you. But
yeah, well, see, that puts guys in a tough spot, right? Because the Olympics are in a year from now. You want to have an opportunity to play in those, but you also are definitely not interested, if your team's going to play until the end of June, to waste an entire week of break to go and practice and watch other guys play hockey. So, and because you can't say no to Team USA,
right?
You can't say no to Team Sweden, but then at the end of it, if you literally sit there and do nothing the entire time, that will be contentious. And again, that's what they were trying to protect against. That's what they don't want, and that's what the players are saying they don't want. So,
what are the rosters for the Olympics? Do you know? I don't remember.
I don't know, but that's different because you're going to go to the Olympics and you get to sit in the village. You have the experience. Your family's there. Like that's why that's different. So, but you have to imagine it's 25 or 26, maybe even 27. Like you want to be an extra guy there. That's even more fun of an experience to deal with the Olympics. So, I bet they expand for those.
Yeah. I heard that, all the teams management wanted more players.
Yeah,
they did. But,
again, they knew this was going to happen and they knew it was going to be a headache for them.
Right.
And it would be a story.
But between the league and the PA in particular, the PA said, no, this is what we're going to do. I chuckle because, it reminds me, and when I say it reminds me of a youth tournament, it's just kind of like, how you go to these events and all of a sudden, well, we're going to do this and we're going to do that. And
our goalie's down. You're calling around the entire town looking for a goalie that's the same age to be able to fill in.
Right.
That's right.
Yeah. It's funny, but it's unfortunate that people are going to get injured, but we knew it was going to happen. And now this is where we're at. So, I mean, maybe Quinn Hughes is on his way. That's a hard ask for him, especially if he can't play, because then he's got to go all the way back out west tomorrow, meaning I beg your pardon, Friday to play Saturday. And we'll wrap it up with this. How about this fact? You got a handful of guys that have games in the afternoon on Saturday.
I know.
So on these teams that are playing tonight, Thursday night.
Yeah, McDavid's in Philly on Saturday afternoon.
At like 1.
Yeah.
And there's a couple of other noon or 12:30 games. Like there's it's tight, but I think Detroit's got a 12 or 12:30 game. How good? I'll tell you who's really barely been good. And I'll wrap it up with this. I keep saying I'll wrap it up. I should just shut up. Dylan Larkin has had excellent. And Zach Werenski. This has been
Werenski's unbelievable. He was so good Monday night. He was so the best player.
Yeah. And he has been there. Charlie was amazing against Team Canada. I mean, that's the game that everybody's been jonesing for out of him. And just, Bruins Nation. He was phenomenal. Werenski was still right there with him too. He's had this coming out party this season, and he might not win the Selke. Oh my God.
Norris, you got it.
I'm all over the place. It's time to wrap. But he has been spectacular this season.
No, it's a great call. He's been awesome. He has been the standout, but I overlooked him somehow.
Yeah, I did too. So, all right, it's going to wrap up this show. I kept saying it, so now I'm going to do it. Sorry for the brain farts at the end there, folks. All right, Morning Brew with Jaffe and Razor will be back after the Anaheim game, unless something earth-shattering.
I bet we have a lot to talk about after the Saturday game, one way or the other.
Oh, I would think so.
Injuries and everything else. So
yeah, we'll have a lot of stuff now, unless something comes out between now and then. Razor, you and I can always fire up along with RC the pod quickly. But our first scheduled show after the break is going to be Saturday after the Anaheim game. Razor that night has another of the special Unobstructed Views show, which we now know that Linus Olmark is a big fan of.
Yeah, that's right.
How about, by the way, how about Team Sweden decimated by flu? Those guys look like crap.
And they're the only teams that didn't lose. In regulation. So
they look like crap, though.
Yeah,
all right. Thanks to all of our sponsors, led by Fazenda Coffee. We appreciate them. Graciano Construction, RTN Realty, and Sparks Hockey for helping make this show possible. Thursday night, going to be a big one. We're looking forward to it. Four Nations final at TD Garden. Emotion, intensity. We've got anthems to listen to.
Yep.
It's going to be
expensive tickets to buy.
Expensive tickets, exactly. And a whole lot of fun. Razor and I will both be there. We're looking forward to that. Folks, I know you're looking forward to watching it too. We'll talk to you after Saturday's game against Anaheim. In the meantime, enjoy that extra cup of coffee.